I am here in studio with one of the two candidates that are running for Brockton mayor this season, and if I mispronounce your name, it's Jean-Bradley Derenoncourt.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you. It's a beautiful name, JBD.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming into studio today. The election, of course, in November. We have a forum here planned for the end of October at WATD, but I always like to get the candidates in here separately so we can find out a little bit about who you are and what your thoughts are and what your vision is for running the City of Champions, of course, the city of Brockton. So tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and where you came from, because I know that you were not born in the States. You came here to build a new life, and it seems like you've done that.
Thank you, Kristen. Well, obviously, I would like to start by thanking you and your listeners for inviting me, and of course, 95.9 WATD, and I think it's an amazing radio, and I've been here before. So for those of you who may not know me, I'm Jean-Bradley Derenoncourt, or the guy with the long last name. Obviously, I was born outside of this country, but this is my country right now. Since day one, since I moved, I become a U.S. citizen, play by the rules, respect the regulation, and carry on. So as we speak, I'm a resident of Brockton, and I've been in Brockton since day one. Okay. So I'm a listener, I'm a person who determine in terms of like where we are, what we do in terms of a community, and what we can do as a city. So as of right now, yes, I'm one of the city councilors and also the guy who's running for mayor. So I'm in this race for everyone. I'm in this race to save the city of Brockton in terms of like education, in terms of like public safety, and what can we do as a community to move on. So I don't know it all, and I will not pretend to be the smartest guy. What I do have is the ability to listen, and listen to every single person, whether you are young or somewhat older. So that's why I'm in this race.
So when you're out in the community and you say you're listening to people, do you hear the same concerns from residents? I know you said, we were off air a little bit, you've knocked on a lot of doors.
Yes.
Any estimate how many?
So what I'll tell you, as we speak, I probably knock on at least 5,000 doors. So I am the #1 door knocker when it's come down to politics in the city of Brockton.
Oh my goodness.
I have a history of doing that. The reason I do so is because I want to meet people at the door. So when you meet somebody at the house and they see you on the street, usually by myself, it's a different outcome, because they can have a personal relationship with you by questioning you about what's going on. So with that being said, I like to take the time to go out there and talk to the residents, because if I want to represent them, I have to listen to what they have to say.
Right. What are their concerns? Do you hear a lot of the same things? Like, do you hear 3 or 4 of the same things, or do you hear many different things?
But I'll tell you, in terms of like one of the biggest concerns that people have is public safety.
Okay.
Because traffic is crazy, and at the end of the day, they would like somebody to come and enforce the traffic, and that's part of the public safety too. But also people complaining about, as you know, the deficit that we had with the school system, almost $19 million. So they are looking for somebody who's open-minded and disciplined enough to go there and fix the problems, and they know I do have the ability to do that, because since day one I've been elected on the council, I always stand with the people, whether you are Republican, Democrat, or Independent. It doesn't mean anything to me. As long as you are a resident of Brockton, I will represent you. And I'll tell you this, I'm a correctional officer too. I'm not just a politician. I work at the jail, and I understand we are dealing with all kinds of people. So the same discipline that I use to work at the jail is the same discipline that I use on the city council, and the same discipline that I use in my life. I'm a guy, I'm a common guy who's trying to do something positive for everyone. And that's why my campaign, it's all about inclusivity, rather saying that, well, I don't like you because you look this way, or I don't like you because you look that way. My campaign is one of the most diverse campaigns that you will see in the history of the city, because I believe in every single people at the table, and that's what we'll carry on.
Well, sounds like you've got a good coalition put together. I know you talked about, public safety, education, and I know there are people in the community that maybe not even hold an office, but are experts in that. Do you have any people like that with you, with your campaign?
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that I've learned so far in terms of like politics, it's like sometimes we as politicians, we assume we know it all, and that's not true. And at the end of the day, I don't own a business. In order for me to comprehend or understand what goes into a business, you have to talk to a business person. When somebody is willing to come to your community and invest money, you have a solemn obligation not just to help them, but to protect their business, and that's what I do. I have a record in terms of like supporting small businesses. I have a record in terms of like voting in favor of the people. As you know, people don't trust politicians anymore. But nobody in the city can say this about me, because I am the kind of person, when I like something, I will tell you. When I do not like something, and I'll tell you. And every single vote that I cast on the council has been a vote in favor of improving the city of Brockton, improving the quality of life of every single Brockton resident. And that's the difference between myself and my opponent, as opposed to running a race just to get a retirement. We are not doing this. At 35 years old, I wish I could retire, but guess what? I'm not there yet. At the end of the day, it is my job to bring everyone at the table. And when it's come down to public safety, as you know, Brockton has a very tough history. Now, the question is, how do we stop the shooting? Well, if you take a look at the educational system, we have nothing for the kids to do after school. Not only we have to invest in education, we have to invest in quality education, but also a focus on, after school programs like musics, like mechanics, right? Like trade and stuff that can keep these kids busy. And if you take a look at who's doing the shooting, the age group is from 15 and 25 years old, because these kids have they have time to think about all kind of crazy stuff. So if we keep them busy, they are very likely not to cause any problem. So my job, as if I'm lucky enough to become the next mayor, is to work in collaboration with every single resident. How do we minimize, I don't want to say get rid of, because it's going to be tough, but how do we minimize the shooting? How do we minimize people killing each other and change the perception about Brockton? And that's what I'll do.
Do you think there's enough money in the budget right now to be able to provide these kinds of programs? I mean, I know that it's a big community. There's a lot of money, but I'm never sure what goes what in the budget. Is there enough funding to be able to provide those kind of programs for after-school things?
Well, I'll tell you this. People may argue that we don't have enough money. Now, the question is, how much money do you have? I think it's a leadership problem in terms of like how we spend our money. I think it's a priority problem. It's what you prioritize. Okay. We just passed a budget over $500 million. Now, you don't tell me you cannot find a way to come up with $400,000, $300,000 for the kids. For me, our children should be the number one priority in terms of like what we do for them. Because I used to be a kid too. You used to be a kid too, Kristen. So don't tell me we don't have enough money. That's an excuse. Now, the question is, what is your priority? My focus is education, not just education, but quality education, but also public safety. You cannot talk about public safety without talking about education, and not just public safety in terms of like stopping the kids from 15 and 25 from shooting each other, but you also need to educate their parents. Brockton has always been diverse, right? We used to have the Irish, well, not used to, it used to be the Irish, Italian, Greek, Lithuanian, French. They used to be dominating the city of Brockton. And as of right now, it's a different level. It's a different kind of diversity. You got the Irish still, the Greek, Italian, but you have a lot of Haitians and Cape Verdean. So we got to be able to bring these people into the conversation, because I know for a fact that certain parents would not want their kids to get involved in certain things. Sometimes they don't even know what's going on. Number one, we need to find a way to teach them how to speak English. I am the kind of person who believes if you move in this country and have the ability to learn, you should be able to learn English, because you know why? We speak English here. But if you speak another language, that's fine too. But if you have children in the school system, you gotta be able to have a basic understanding of what goes in the school system. But if you don't have access to it, like I did when I first moved in this country, fortunately, I was able, Christine, to go to the Brockton Public Library to learn English. I know I don't speak perfectly, but I'm still learning, because that's a tough language to learn.
You know, you told me a great story off air when you were talking about when you moved to this country. One of the first jobs you had, you worked at a restaurant that everybody here loved, and that was Christo's.
Yes, I did.
And I was talking about our own Rob Hackley. Yes. He used to love to go there with his grandfather. We were always talking about, party of 5 for the gold room. So you know exactly what I was talking about.
Yes.
What was that experience like? Because that was a neighborhood institution.
So far, I have many jobs, right? Especially professional jobs, but Christos was and still my number one job in terms of like what I did there. So when I first moved in this country, I was fortunate, and I'm saying I was fortunate enough to be part of that family, working as a boss boy. And I remember vividly when I got hired, they wanted me to be a bartender. Unfortunately, at that time, I could not speak English, because I remember vividly they advised me to go to Macy's to get like a white shirt, black tie, black pants, you know, the uniform for a bartender.
Sure.
And when I came back, they were telling me stuff that I could not understand. All I could do was smiling. They put me in the kitchen. The rest is history. But at one point, I was assigned to the golden room, because, you know, it doesn't matter how dead this place was. The golden room was always busy. For whatever reason, everybody wants to go to the golden room. And I was able to communicate with Christos in French, because I speak French and he speaks French. So this was my way of talking to him. And he was an amazing person. And I worked there until the place closed, and I was the last boss boy that worked there. I got promoted to make pizza, to be a pizza maker. I hated it because it was too hard. But I told him, and I said, can I do both? He's like, you do whatever you want. So I was able to make pizza and also working on the floor, because working on the floor for me was like being able to talk to people. But in the kitchen, there was nobody to talk to.
He knew you were going to run for mayor.
Well,
he knew you were going to run
probably.
for mayor. So you tell me, in your opinion, what is Brockton's biggest challenge going forward and its biggest strength?
I mean, I think our biggest, let me focus on the strength first. I think our strength is our diversity. Our strength is the amount of young people that we have in the city. Brockton has limitless possibility in terms of like what we can do and what we can become. What I see as the challenge is a lack of leadership in terms of like our ability to communicate to each other. I think we have a communication problems. The city doesn't have a money problems. We have a leadership problem. And what I mean by this is not just blaming one group of people. We gotta be able to sit at a table and talk to everyone to understand the problems. As of right now, every single person in Brockton will tell you we have a safety problems because people are hurting each other. Now, how do we fix that problems? Well, we have to talk. We have to come up with a solution. I don't have all the solution, but I know I have the willingness to reach out to anybody who's willing to talk. And that's why I said we gotta be able to invest in the educational system whereby we can keep our children in school by having extra curriculum, musics, mechanics, soccer, whatever you want to call it. That's a superintendent job. But also, we got to be able to work in collaboration with law enforcement. So how do we build that community policing whereby people are willing to join the police as opposed to walk away from the police? This is something that I think we have to do. We have to involve the churches, we have to involve the community leaders, and we have to involve anybody who's willing to focus and help us build the city.
If people want to find out more about you and your candidacy, do you have a website or a Facebook page they can go to?
Absolutely. Anybody can go to votejanebradley.com, and people can just go to Jane Bradley Derenoncourt. Simple. And if you put like Derenoncourt, Facebook will give it to you. And if somebody would like to talk to me personally, I love to do that. I'll give you my cell phone number. They can call me at 774-297-0191.
And you know what? And before we sign off, quickly tell me 3 things that people should know about your candidacy for Brockton Mayor. 3 of the qualities that people need to know about you.
Number 1, I am in this race for everyone. Number 2, I am by the law. And number 3, I'm open-minded and I'm an amazing listener. I listen to everyone.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. And again, we're going to get this whole interview up online. We'll have you back here with your opponent at the end of the month for a forum. But it was great to sit here and talk with you. Again, Jean Bradley, Derenoncourt, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Christine.
You're very welcome. I'm Christine James, 95.9 WATD, 95.9 WATD, 95.9.